the Americans said they were going to close Abu Ghraib.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a French newscaster, the women, they're beautiful and they have lovely voices.
Yeah.
And she says, Abu Ghraib will be remembered as the place where American soldiers tortured Iraqi prisoners. Right? Abu Ghraib is not going to be remembered as the place where Saddam Hussein put people through paper shredders. It never happened.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's an example.
Tell us about the CPE.
Okay, the CPE is Contrat Première Embauche. They translate it as First Employment Contract. It was supposed to help unqualified workers get their first job.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that by making less stringent conditions for the employers when they want to fire somebody, either because the person's incompetent or because they don't have enough business to sustain, this
Yes.
is mainly for small companies, that it would be easier to fire them. And it was a 2-year period.
Okay, let me just clarify. This was a reaction to the uprising, and it was intended to assuage.
That's right. They said this uprising has nothing to do with jihad. It's not an intifada. It has nothing to do with Islam. It's a sociological thing.
Mm-hmm.
These people have been discriminated against, and we're going to set all of that right. For one time, the United States was model, right? The civil rights movement and
Okay.
all, right? Affirmative action, which they call positive discrimination. That's the French one. So they've put this whole package, and in this package was this job contract. And there was a bit of opposition, as there is to everything, that anytime you try to change the labor law. And then it was made to balloon and swell because the Socialist Party got in on it, the communists, the ecologists who are now getting allied with the Islamists, probably the Muslim Brotherhood is in there somewhere, all of the extreme left organizations, and the little punk jihadis, either as Kasser or as ringleaders, to foment the revolt in the universities.
Okay.
And, they
So everybody
did
jumped
terrible
in.
damage. And the press just loved it.
Okay. And do you feel, well, it sounds like you don't feel that this will solve any problem.
Oh, it's disastrous. It's disastrous because two things. People saw that you can attack the riot police. They're the best armed, the best equipped. That's why they're called riot police. You can attack them from hours on end. You get hundreds of policemen injured, very few of the Kasser injured. And you can destroy, again, you can destroy public property. I can't tell you, $1 million of damage at the Sorbonne, the Graduate School of Sociology, completely trashed. So many schools, they came into schools where the students were in the school, and they trashed the school while the students are there, cowering with their professors, locking the door, and hoping they don't come in.
It sounds like they were rewarded for their bad behavior.
Yes, because the government backed down. That's the second disaster, right? The police can't defend the population, and the government backs down under pressure. So that means that the government can't defend us, and the police can't defend us. And the Kasser, they can change their targets at any time. And we saw they could do it in the banlieue, and now they can do it in the city. And they come, sometimes 100, and they can trash whatever they want. Seriously trash.
Are there any attempts to bring the people that had damaged these public institutions to justice?
Some are arrested, most of them released, probably never come to trial. Some come to trial, a few were sentenced. What happens when they're sentenced? Television cameras are there outside the courtroom. The father of the boy is there saying, he never did anything bad. He was there, but he wasn't there to do he wasn't attacking the police. This is terrible. Now what's going to happen to him? So the idea was, nobody's guilty. Nobody, you know, they have something in French law that you can't just say, these people were a gang together and here's what they did. You have to say, this one did that and this one did that. So how are you going to prove, even though they do have, they're using cameras now a bit.
What benefits have the banlieue been getting from the French government in terms of money, housing, and so forth?
It's extraordinary. The amount of money that's poured in is extraordinary. The result is terrible. It's like in Africa, you know. It's
Well, make it tangible for us. What do they get in American dollars? Or what would be the equivalent amount of money? How does the housing work in the Bonnier?
I'm terrible at figures. I can't give figures and statistics, but I'll tell you. Just know that welfare benefits in France are much, much higher than in the United States. It's much easier to have them. They last longer. They're so high that it's not worth it for people to get a job.
I see. Now, many of the people in the Bonnier don't go on for higher education. Why is that?
Sometimes there's discrimination,
Okay.
and now there's attempts to overcome it, but probably awkward and with perverse effects. That happens here too with all this diversity thing. Some people do. It's a big mistake to think that the Muslims in France are one block of an underclass who are suffering day and night. Or when they show on television the engineer in charge of this and that, French Muslim. When you go to the telephone company, French Muslim. When you go to any administration, French Muslim. There are plenty of people who are working, who are decent, and of course they're suffering from the thugs in the banlieue too.
That's a very important point. In other words, you believe in peace, you believe in civil rights, you believe in equal opportunities for all people. You believe in all these things. You don't feel that all the Muslims are bad in France, do you?
I don't believe in peace. I do believe in the other things. I don't believe in peace. I believe that war is a permanent aspect of human life, that conflict exists, that enemies exist, that evil exists, and war is fighting against evil. And believing in peace is very dangerous, and it causes terrible tragedies and deaths. Now, the other thing, of course, I don't believe that all Muslims are bad. I don't believe that people are bad and good by categories. The day when my fiction is published, people will see that. And I went overboard believing that people can be good.
That's a very interesting statement. You don't believe in peace.
No.
You believe that the nature of man inherently is to be warlike.
No, only some. I believe that peaceful people believe in peace. I live peacefully with people.
Yes.
There's peace in my family, there's peace with my friends. And even, people quarrel and squabble, and I'm the one usually making peace. And I get along with people very well. And I don't know how to make war. And sometimes it's a disadvantage. I don't know how to defend myself physically.
So when you say you believe in war, you mean you believe that war is a reality that's not going to go away anytime?
Yes, and I believe that that our civilization has achieved something very important, is to make war against the enemy and to have the least collateral damage. And this is something that is totally overlooked today in public opinion, because there's so much griping and so much misunderstanding. To someone my age who lived through the Second World War, a misunderstanding of what war is and can be and how many people can die in wars.
Well,
And the modern military is wonderful.
You're not for every war, like you're not for the opium wars in China, are you?
Well, I wasn't there, and no, of course not. But then I'm not for the jihad conquest, and that's a much bigger thing. So if we want to talk about the opium wars, we can talk about the jihad conquest.
Our interview has just begun, yet it's over. Would you please come back
You
again?
have a lot of questions left to
I
ask
do,
me.
I do.
I won't refuse.
Thank you so much. Nidra Poller.
Avinu Malkeinu